All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to deconstruct a really powerful and honestly, a pretty terrifying philosophical monologue. We're talking about a worldview where the speaker isn't just trying to conquer the world. No, they want to completely remake reality from the ground up. So let's see what kind of picture they're planning to paint.
And boom, right off the bat, we get hit with the central, kind of mind-bending idea of this whole philosophy. The speaker looks at what you and I would call destruction, an ending, and they just completely reframe it. This isn't about being evil. For them, it's about art, just, on a cosmic scale.
Okay, so let's get into the first piece of this worldview. The speaker is really clear about this. They're not waging a war. Not at all. In their mind, what they're doing is, well, they call it a metaphysical correction. They believe they're fixing a fundamental flaw in the very fabric of existence itself. And this just illustrates their point perfectly, doesn't it? Where we see an end, a total wipeout, they see a fresh start. Think about it. All of reality, everything we know, our rules, our morals, it's all just old paint on a canvas. And that canvas needs to be scraped completely clean to make room for a real masterpiece. That darkness they talk about, that's just the primer. So here's where it gets really interesting. Who's the antagonist here? The villain? It's not a person. It's not some evil empire. The enemy is what the speaker calls the not I. And what is that? Well, it's everything. Everything that isn't their own will. We're talking objective reality, the social contracts we all live by, even the very idea that you and I exist independently of them. To this speaker, all of that, it's just a cage. And what if you're part of that not I? Well, this is where it gets genuinely chilling. You're not seen as a worthy opponent, not an enemy to be fought with honor. Nope, you're just an error, a bug in the code, something to be deleted so the program can finally run the way it's supposed to. It's this absolute, totally impersonal dismissal of your entire existence. So that brings us to the first step in their grand plan. How do you go about erasing these errors? Well, it all starts by dismantling a person's connection to the world. And their tool for this job? It's called the Fichtian dagger. Now that name alone should tip you off. It's a reference to the philosopher Fichte, who was all about the idea that the self basically creates its own reality. So yeah, we're definitely not talking about your typical weapon here. So the speaker themselves asks the question, is this just a simple weapon? And the answer is a resounding no. Its purpose is way more conceptual and honestly a lot more terrifying. Right, so here's the absolute key. This dagger doesn't cut your skin. It cuts the very idea that you are a separate being from the world around you. Its entire purpose is to destroy what the speaker calls the foundational lie, that comforting little thought that you have an independent self. And this is the ultimate expression of that power. By cutting that bond, the speaker claims they can literally unmake reality with a thought. So if they just stop perceiving you, you don't become invisible. You just cease to exist. I mean, talk about a terrifying take on subjective reality. Okay, so once you've philosophically unmade the individual, where do you go from there? Well, you go bigger. The next target is the collective, the entire moral and social fabric that holds society together. And you better believe they have a plan. It's a very clear four-step process. And just like before, it involves a new set of philosophical tools. These aren't designed to attack society head-on, but to make it rot from the inside out. First up, step one, inducing what they call the great weariness. This isn't like a physical attack, it's more like a spiritual one. It's this deep, profound exhaustion that just seeps into your bones and makes any kind of struggle feel totally pointless. It's about killing the will to fight before a punch is even thrown. Next, things get psychological. The speaker weaponizes a very real and very ugly human emotion, resentment. You know that feeling? That hidden, bitter resentment and envy that people feel for each other but never talk about? Yeah, that. The speaker doesn't invent it, they just pull it out into the open and give it shape, turning people's inner demons into literal monsters that come back to haunt them. And this quote just nails the whole strategy, doesn't it? The speaker isn't trying to be the big bad villain here. Not really. They see themselves as just a catalyst. They're just hitting the accelerator on society's own self-destruction by bringing all the ugly stuff that was already there right to the surface. So, okay, the individual is gone, society has collapsed in on itself. What could possibly be left? Well,
This brings us to the final and most important principle, what the speaker plans to build from all those ashes.
The idea here is to break down everything. All the rigid laws of that not I, we're talking physics, morality, logic, the whole shebang. They want to return reality to its most basic state, what they call chaos energy. It's pure, untamed potential. And there it is. That's the blank canvas they've been talking about this whole time.
But how do they survive all this chaos? Well, with something they call the Amor Fati aura. And this might be their most powerful trick of all. Amor Fati, it means love of fate. So any attack, any damage you try to do to them, it isn't just blocked. Oh no, it's welcomed, it's embraced, and it's converted directly into more power for them. Just think about that. The more you fight them, the stronger they actually get.
And all of this leads to the sovereign's decree, which kind of ties it all up in a neat, terrifying bow. The darkness is just the canvas. The dagger and the staff, those are just the tools to clear it. And the destruction, it's not about hate. It's about the simple, absolute necessity of their own will to create something new.
And there you have it. That's the ultimate thesis statement. Good, evil, truth, lies, none of it means anything. In this worldview, the only thing that's truly real is the speaker's will and the infinite, empty canvas waiting for them to design their new reality.
Which, of course, leaves us with one final, kind of haunting question to chew on. This whole monologue, it lays out a terrifyingly coherent vision of a purely subjective reality. And it forces you to ask yourself, if the world really is just a canvas, who's holding the brush?